What up, YouTube? So today is going to be part 2 of the mr2 K24 swap build, and today we're going to be taking out this engine. So this is actually a perfect bay that I wanted to show you guys because everything is complete in here. So anybody who's looked at my other videos, some stuff was already taken apart and you probably didn't get to see everything that I did to take a swap out. So today everything is stock, airbox, headers, etc. But it's still pretty easy. It's not too bad. It's still just a lot of tins, some flatheads, pliers and whatsoever. So right now I'm gonna go ahead and park it on the actual concrete so I can start taking this thing out. So yeah, let me go ahead and start this thing up, put it on the concrete, and then we'll come back and start showing you what we need to do to take this motor out. All right, so we got the back end up on the concrete now, so we can start working comfortably, at least on there instead of the dirt. First thing you want to do when you are doing a swap or whatever is make sure you disconnect the positive. You don't want to get shocked by the starter or pop any fuses. That way later diagnosing the car, you'll run into problems. So first thing I'm gonna do is take off this air intake box, the stock box, so that'll kind of free up a lot more room to get to other things. Right now I'm just gonna be using all tins, so make things a lot easier, and then maybe some pliers. So what we're gonna do is take this off, and then that'll give us room to get to all this other stuff, coolant lines and everything as well. So yeah, we're gonna do that, and then I'm gonna start doing little things. I'm gonna take off this throttle cable, which I believe is a 12mm right here, and then just start going from there. I actually want to take this box off too as well, since it's right here, and then this little radiator cap or the coolant reservoir top as well. So it looks like it's just some pliers, a 10mm right here. Yeah, so let's start with that at least, and then we'll start working toward all the other little things we need to do to drop the swap. All right, so now that we're back, got the throttle cable taken off, was just a 12mm, and then you want to, I guess, push this down in order for it to pry out, because it comes out right here. The airbox, I was just able to take this one off, but whoever had this car before never rebolted it back down. I believe they were 312s, so just make sure that you take those out if yours is completely stock. And we got the little evap box out, just 10mm bracket holding it in, and I got this kind of disconnected as well. So now what I'm gonna do is start looking for things that are holding the motor down to the frame, or as far as like accessories. So we're gonna start attacking all this over here because we're not gonna be using any of it. So I'm gonna have to take this little side plate off, and then that'll start clearing up a lot of things as well. And then we'll start going after, I guess, all the bracketry over there too, as far as that's on top of that engine mount. And then we'll just go from there, see what else we need to start taking apart. So I'm gonna go ahead and start disconnecting this. I believe it's just a Phillips right here, and then we're gonna try to get rid of all this throttle cable system so we can delete it, so we can only end up just, all we're gonna do is use this one right here. And I'll show you guys probably later in future video how to actually utilize that, so it's you don't have to make any brackets or anything. So I'm gonna go ahead and take that off, get all this taken off, and then we'll come back and see what else we need to do. All right, so we got all the cruise control and this little side panel taken off. As far as, there was 3 bolts, so there's one right here, and one right there. There's 3 10mm bolts. And then over here we had, like, there's a bracket bolt right here, and then one right here. And then I just cut the wiring to it. Yeah, so this is gonna be our throttle cable. Probably want to take this clip off as well, so it'll be a lot easier to move it forward on the intake manifold for the K24. So next thing we're gonna do is I also took off couple brackets over here, so let me show you that. I just unbolted it. They're just 12 millimeters. I took the ground off. There was a ground right here, and then I disconnected the starter wire, which is we're gonna be reusing. Also keep your grounds too, because if you don't want to buy a ground kit, it'd be easier to just use the stock ones, which is possible. So next thing we're gonna do right now is start disconnecting this wiring harness from the fuse box. So let's see, pop this fuse box off, just 2 little tabs, and then it exposes us to this. So I just want to show you guys now for the future of wiring. This is going to be your alternator wire that you connect to your charge harness on your K-series. And then as far as these other wires, blue black right here, that one's going to be fuel. And then we have a yellow black, I believe this one right here, that's going to go to your basically starter signal switch, or not your starter signal switch, but your switch power onto the actual car. That way it'll charge the alternator. And then the red one, there's like 2 of them, I believe red and white, or red, but the red one's gonna be your starter signal switch. And those are the main wires you need and your starter to actually get the car to start. But yeah, so right now we're gonna go ahead and start disconnecting this fuse box from the harness. There's a 10 right here, a 10 right here, and there might be one under maybe, or just right here. No, that's just actually a tab. So it's a pull down tab right here, and then that just pulls up, I guess. And we're gonna disconnect all this other stuff too as well. I'm not sure what this is, but we'll go ahead and disconnect that. And then I don't know if you see this brake booster line. We're gonna start taking that apart as well, all the way around. And we're gonna take this shield off so we can start prepping for that. And then we'll also do the shift linkage. So I just usually spray like some WD-40 on them so they come up a little easier. And then they just have little clips. It's not really see. Yeah, so you can just take that out with some wire cutters or whatever, and that should be it for that. So yeah, let's go ahead and get that going. Also, these are 2 8mm bolts right here. Or are those 10 maybe? Yeah, those might actually be 10mm bolts. So we'll take those off, disconnect all this, and then we'll just leave the box here for now. I'm gonna re-go over the wiring again, obviously, when I'm putting the other motor in and everything, but I just wanted to show you guys. Some people, this might be the first time you're watching the MR2 video and you didn't watch the other ones, but like I said, I'm always going to try to show more information that I learned from the swap. So I'm gonna go ahead and start knocking that out, and then we'll come back and see what else we need to do. All right, so we are back, and let me go ahead and show you what I did so far now. So we got our harness disconnected. As you can see, they were actually 10mm bolts right here. So other than that, you're just unplugging it. You just push it. It's just a push down plug for both of them, in case anybody wanted to know. So just push it down and they kind of just wiggle it out. It'd be a lot easier. And I got my shift linkage taken apart as well with that shield. And then the whole brake booster line is completely out the way. So I mean, we're getting there. We're almost done on the top side of it. So now what we're gonna do is start attacking the AC lines and disconnect that. I believe they are 12mm bolts. So let's see, there's, I believe, just 2 of them, I guess. And then we're gonna go for our fuel to disconnect it from the engine. So I believe that's a 17mm. That's just the fuel filter. We'll actually be deleting that as well, but just for the time being, to get this motor out, we'll be taking that out. And then we're gonna take out this reservoir right here, or engine coolant, so we can get that out of the way. I believe that's just a 10mm bolt down there, and that should be it. There was one right here as well, but I took that out when I did the fuse box. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and take those 3 things out, and hopefully that should be most of the stuff up top. If not, we'll go over. I don't like to do the radiator hoses until like almost the end. That way when I'm on the ground, I'm not getting all wet with fluid and stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and knock out the fuel, the AC, and then get to this reservoir, and then we'll see what we need to do next. All right, so I got my AC lines off, as you can see. Real simple, just 2 12s, and you can prime with a flathead. I did my fuel, which was really simple. It's just a 17 millimeter down there, and that disconnects it from the engine. And then I took out the coolant tank. So what it says next is, on this model, the speedometer was straight cable, so it goes actually to the transmission. So I'm gonna have to, can't really see it, but I'm gonna have to get down there. It unclips. I have to disconnect that, and then I have to disconnect the slave cylinder, but I'm probably gonna do that on the underside. And then there's a ground. Let's see. Actually, you can't really see it because it's kind of dirty right here, but there's another ground. Let's see. Actually, right here, but it's a 12 millimeter, so I'll take that off as well. And then we have this right here, which is just like a 10 millimeter to disconnect that from the firewall, so it can all just go down with the engine. Other than that, we'll start jacking the car up, take the tires off, and so we can start getting to the subframe and taking the axles off and dropping the exhaust as well, so we can get ready to take this off. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish this little stuff, jack the car up real quick, and then we'll start talking about the suspension. All right, so I basically just took that tent off. That's ready to take off. And then let me show you the speed cable. So it just spins off. You spin this off and then it pops out. Also had to do the return line. I forgot to do this real fast. So that's for the fuel, which goes right here. And that's, I believe, as much as everything on top. As far as the radiator hoses, that should be it. So now we can get down to suspension. So what we're gonna be doing is taking these off right here. I believe this is maybe a 19. And let's see what the other side is. All right, so this is a 21 on this side, a 19 on this side. And I believe this is a 14 millimeter. Once you take this off right here, I'll just do it right now just to show you guys. Or probably gonna, well, anyways, once you take this off and you take this little clip out, there's a 30 millimeter back here. And then these should be 17 millimeters. And that one is like 27, I believe. I'll let you guys know after I'm done, but let's see. And then you have these right here. I like to take the bolts from right here on each side instead of this. That way you don't have to mess up the ball joint. Also, while we're down here, we're gonna be taking off the exhaust. So I believe those two are some 14s. And then the hangers, I believe, are 17 millimeter bolts on each side. So we'll be dropping that. As you can see, that's already been taken off. Those were probably like 12 millimeters. So if your car is stock, you'll have to take those off as well. And I believe these are 17s. So yeah, we're gonna start taking off this whole subframe and exhaust, and then we'll come back and see what else we need to do. All right, so we got our subframe and our exhaust pulled off with downpipe. You do have to disconnect the downpipe from the header, or it'll be kind of difficult dropping the subframe down. As far as what we have to do next, I actually forgot. We're gonna have to pop the trunk and disconnect the ECU so we can pull the plugs out from here. We're also gonna disconnect the slave cylinder. I usually just cut it because it's just easier. We're not gonna use that line anyways. We're just gonna use an adapter that came from Huck's Performance. We got this mount right here, the front mount, and then the mount on the side, and then we have axles. So right now I'm gonna start pulling out the axles so I can drain the fluid out of the transmission. I'll do the front mount, and then I believe I'll start doing the radiator hoses since I'm pretty much done at the bottom as far as getting ready to drop it. I think I gotta take off some of the plastics as well. Yeah, so this plastic's gonna have to come off. Looks like there's a 10mm bolt right here. And then there's probably one, there's one right here. You can't see it. So I'll take that off as well, pop these axles off, and I believe we can drop the engine after that. I believe it's 14s on this side. I believe they're at the bottom though. And then there's probably a 17 that actually holds the mount on. Yeah, so that should be it for it. So we're gonna take out the ECU wiring plugs, start popping off the front mount, and disconnecting the radiator hoses. So we'll knock that out and then we'll come back. So now we got our heater hoses off, our radiator hoses off, lower and bottom. I loosened up the mounts already over here, so they're 17s, and then that side is 14s. They're on the bottom side, and the front is 17 as well. And the 3 bolts on the subframe from the back mount is 3 14s. So other than that, I just got the jack under here now, and everything should be ready to drop out. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that so we can end this video. All right, so the motor is dropped out, as you can see. I was gonna pull it out, but I gotta clean up and get rid of some other motors before I pull it out so it doesn't look too bad back here. But yeah, everything's ready to pull out. I usually just jack it all the way up and then pull the motor out from the bottom, which is not too hard to anyway, so next video we'll be cleaning everything up. I think we might be doing a fuel pump on this one, so I have to talk to the owner, see what he wants to do. But got a lot more content coming on. Hopefully the mounts for the Integra DC2 come in. The MR2, I gotta change the crank dowel in there. We can go for a ride in that one hopefully, and the Z1. And then yeah, I got the Del Sol coming soon for you guys. Hopefully we can get that going tomorrow maybe. Just so many more cars coming, so stay tuned guys. If you haven't, like, share, subscribe. If you want to hit me up on Instagram, it's kseriesworks. And I'll see you guys next time.